Hi. So we have another question. It is, given HBO's history of completely changing storylines, I'm looking at you, True Blood. How did you get them to stay so true to your complex as all hell novels?
Candy and chocolates. It's David and Dan, really. David Benioff and Dan Weiss are the showrunners. I don't have any veto power. I signed a pretty standard contract where I gave them rights to adapt this into a television series, and I got certain titles and the agreement I'd write one script a year and a large dump truck full of money. And they can they can have the aliens come down next season. They can turn the whole cast into vampires. And I'm powerless to stop them, but I don't think they will do that. They love the books, and they seem committed to telling my story in a different medium. And I knew all that before I signed any of the contracts. I mean, when these books started hitting the New York Times bestseller list, which was as early as Clash of Kings, was approached by other people who wanted to adapt them, many for feature films. And I had meetings with those people and, heard their plans. How are they going to fit this giant thing in a feature film? Well, we're going to make it all about Jon Snow and we'll drop all these other characters. Or we'll make it all about Dany and we'll drop all these other characters. They had various schemes or of how they would do it. We'll just make the first book up to this point, and then we hope that the movie will do well enough to order a second movie. And none of these really appealed to me, so I said no, which is, it's always said that no is the sexiest word you can say in Hollywood. The more you say no, the more they want you. And I guess that was true because they kept coming, and eventually David and Dan came, and we had a wonderful meeting that lasted like most of a day. We met for lunch, and we were talking and getting all animated about how we were going to do the series over lunch and in a crowded restaurant in Los Angeles. And little by little, it emptied out, and pretty soon we were the only people there, drinking our seventh cup of coffee and iced tea and still talking about it. And then more hours passed, and we're still talking in the restaurant. The dinner crowd is coming in, and they're setting up for dinner. I think we closed that restaurant that night. So it was one of those classic meetings that you only get once in a while, but I had a great feeling about them. I mean, if you're J.K. Rowling, you can go into a situation where every studio in Hollywood wants you, and you can set very stringent terms where you get to approve everything. But if you're not J.K. Rowling, and virtually nobody is J.K. Rowling except for J.K. Rowling, then you can't do that, and you have to find people that you trust and put your faith in them and in the understanding of the story. Which is something that I think I also understood a fair amount of that because of my 10 years working in Hollywood and the fact that I had seen the other side of the process. Sometimes I think some of my fellow novelists who have not worked in television and film are very naive about this process. They get an offer, and there's the dump truck full of money, and they sign it, they cash the check, and then they're not involved in the series. They may get invited to the premiere, and they come out of the premiere looking like all of their children have just been gassed, and with a stunned look on their face because everything has been changed. And it's, some of them get very upset and start writing angry editorials and things like that. I haven't heard of anyone except Alan Moore actually returning the check, however. So I think there's a certain, I don't know, hypocrisy there. It's not a secret that Hollywood does change things, and maybe they change too many things. And when I have my writer hat off and I put on my reader, my fanboy hat, I get, upset as anyone, and I can go on for a long time about, how they change things in Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four in ways that I don't approve of. But nonetheless, you got to know the job is dangerous when you take it.